There we go. Hello, everybody. It is Two Queers in the Truck time. A little Freddie Mercury and I Want to Break Free. And get me out of here. There's no intelligent life here on Earth. But anyway, it is Two Queers in the Truck, and we have a lot of crazy unhinged things to talk about in the last few weeks. How you doing, Christian?
Good, Boo. How are you? I love that song, and I like that video, the original video where he's vacuuming.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's just a classic Freddie Mercury song, and just a classic, amazing, gifted, talented performer. I mean, there's very few people in music history that were like Freddie. I mean, it's just iconic in every way, shape, or form. And I still think of him in his latter years when he was doing that warm up and he was at the I think the Live Aid thing, and he was just getting people, the whole crowd, and you could just feel, I mean, that's, right towards the end of his life. He was pretty sick by then, and just literally, I think just days before, just come out of a hospital, gets up on the stage and just friggin' just rocks it, because that's just who he was born to be. A consummate performer. And it still, even when I think about it, when I recall that stage presence, I still get chills. I still just what an incredible, gifted human being he was. Life cut way too short. But anyway, this is Two Queers in a Truck, and what interesting times we live in, for sure. Our previous show, the coffee show, a very interesting topic as well. But we'll jump right into what we're going to talk about, which the first topic is, I guess 600,000 gallons of oil spilling in the middle of Kansas is okay for MAGAs. The Keystone Pipeline last week had how they went so apeshit when Biden shut down the new construction of the new leg of the Keystone Pipeline immediately. People think, well, the Keystone Pipeline never got finished. It's always been finished. They were just adding an extra leg, cutting through some indigenous lands and things like that, because that's what Republicans like doing. But the active leg cuts through a certain part of Kansas, and one land that was leased from a farmer had 600,000 gallons of oil just plop right onto the middle of his land, and a pipeline bust, including into a waterway as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that.
It just happened. It just happened probably, I want to say, I think it was Thursday or Friday. And just so much that's why oil prices are so high, gas prices are so high. It's things that Biden did in 2021.
Exactly. They were blaming everything on that.
Oh yeah, I mean, but they don't like talking about when pipelines bust, and they do bust, because they are a mechanical piece of machinery, and all the more reason why we need to get off the oil standard and go into renewable sources. There's so many renewable sources, it's not even funny, which Trump basically squashed for 4 years. We completely lost the momentum we got. And that's just a reminder. It's a gentle reminder that when we choose not to go to old school 20th century technology and make that our mainstay, people in the middle of America are the ones who are going to pay the price. The people that should not be paying the price for this man's got a good portion of his land ruined. There's a massive cleanup now. And I mean, 600,000 gallons of oil, that's a lot of oil on one piece of land. Like, I mean, I saw the pictures, and there's just black everywhere. There's crude oil everywhere, and the other lesser known fact is, one, that's coming from a foreign country. This oil is not American oil. This is Canadian oil. And the second thing is, a lot of the stuff that it's in space ends up getting sold overseas. It's not necessarily getting used in the American market. And so I find some of the lies that are told around the oil industry and the energy industry so humorous and so again, because they peddle this misinformation and things of this nature, it's just kind of bizarre, which I will dovetail into the second topic and another idiot that's, lying about the environment. But it just, it's almost like they can't face reality. And I remember being a little kid and sitting in elementary school when we were talking about the environment and how we need to move towards, renewable energy. This was like 40 years ago. I'm 53. So, when I was 13, that was 40 years ago.
I thought you were 25.
I look like I'm 25, but I've done a lot of living, and I just remember in school decades ago, we talked about this stuff and how presidents have been talking about this since Nixon for sure, that we need to develop a better foreign policy and a better energy policy. And it's almost like now that it's really caused tangible problems, and you're seeing Australia burn down, a couple years ago, and you see all these horrific fires and these cataclysmic environmental and climate change driven events, and you're like, it's like, well, are we going to wait until our whole planet, like we lose our food supply and we can't feed 8 billion people? Or it's just kind of bizarre how humans think that until it affects me, I'm not going to do anything about it. And
that's exactly how people think.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if you see that type of permanent damage, it's too late. Yeah. If we can't feed people all of a sudden, and 2 or 3 billion people go hungry, it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be people are going to be hangry, and it's not a problem where people just go, oh, well, screw it. We see what a few thousand people angry on January 6th did. How about a couple billion that can't eat, don't have any water? What are they going to, you think they're just going to lie down? These people are going to go march in directions, and these wealthier countries are going to have thousands of millions of people coming into their country going, you high wealth nations are what it did. What now?
Jenny, what you said is exactly correct. All these people who say we need to close these borders, not let these people, do you not think that if they start starving and can't drink, that they're going to come over here even more? So this thinking exactly what you said, if we ignore it, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
If that's what you're upset about.
Yeah. Well, the mouth breathers that repeat this on this disinformation, the climate change isn't real, they wouldn't do this with their own homes. And I'll use an example. So let's change it from climate change to termites. If they saw termites popping out of their walls and gnawing on it, they go, termites aren't real. It's no big deal. They're part of nature. It's no big deal. I know they're eating the walls of my house out, but it's no big deal. It's normal. It says in the Bible. Noah had termites on the big old ark. And that's literally what these mouth breathers are saying. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's dovetailing to subject number 2, which is this preacher called Kent, I can't read my own, Kent Christmas. And he says the Bible says that the world will go through 4 seasons. Therefore, global warming is not real, that it's fake. That's just normal for the world to heat up like a fucking oven. Now, of course, this guy's a preacher. He's not an environmental scientist. But it's these kind of mouth breathers, these kind of idiots. And the guy's last name is literally Christmas. I'm sure he wasn't born with that, but let's just say he was. Yeah. But this, and he looks like a WWE wrestler and a porn star had a baby together. And and the great thing about this, they had a publicity shot of him on the Twitter where I read this article. He had a microphone in his hand, and he had one of those wireless earpiece microphones on. So he literally had 2 microphones, which I do think is the funniest thing. In fact, even people on Twitter were commenting, like, I doubt this guy knows much about the environment or global warming when he doesn't even realize he has 2 microphones. Like, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't make up how stupid they look, act, and what they say. Like number one, the Bible's not the definitive textbook on everything that happens in the planet. We'll start there. The Bible is mostly made up and enhanced stories written by ancient people that wanted to hang on power, so they crafted a book that the majority of the chapters is designed to scare the dog shit out of you, so you'll comply. Let's just be real. The Bible is not a happy ending type book. It ends with Revelations, which is, again, designed, written by men for men, and so that people will comply. The Bible's not designed to make you critically think or figure out astrophysics or anything like that. It was written thousands of years ago, and a bunch of Romans sat down and said, our country's kind of falling apart. We need something to kind of push the sheeple along. This other stuff's not working. Maybe let's write this book. We heard about this Mesopotamian Jesus and these other stories. Jews have some pretty good stories. We'll pull some from their Torah. We'll mold it all together. I will throw this little book of Revelations in the end. And if the 19 horsemen or whatever's in that Revelations book doesn't scare them, we'll just put them in the Colosseum and we'll let the lions eat them. But anyway, to be quoting the Bible for global warming is like reading how to hook up your computer to the internet and saying, I know everything that I need to know about building a car. They literally have nothing to do with each other. And especially with a moron that doesn't even know he has 2 microphones is saying it. Like, I'm going, let's just go to credibility.
Where's this guy a pastor at? Do you know?
I didn't really delve into it. I couldn't get past the 2 microphones. I do have it up on my Facebook for people to laugh at.
Okay.
And he's so. I really couldn't get past the name either. It just the overall stupidity. I'm like, and there's probably people sitting in his church. It looked like he was one of those mega churches, the church-tainment thing with probably a rock band and a stripper pole and all kinds of stuff. And you can't help but not laugh at these guys. But what's really bizarre, there's people sitting in that audience that actually give this guy money every Sunday. Well, it probably gets debited out of their account now. Speaking of that, what is really crazy, there was a really big mega church in Missouri near where I lived. It looked like a basketball. When I first moved there, I thought it was a pro basketball arena. It ended up being a church. And those people have to give their tax returns to the church so they know what to debit out of their account.
What?
Yeah, when you join this church. In fact, one of the sheeple, when I first moved there and I was talking about this church and I heard about that, I was talking about it, in the employees' lounge where I was working, and I didn't realize that 2 of the people there was a married couple. They actually fucking went to that church, and they're like, well, yeah, they
that's
need
crazy.
to be accurate. And of course, this guy was a former preacher, and he was a Jim Baker fan, and they moved to Missouri, to Branson, because they were such a Jim Baker fan. But anyway, that's a whole nother episode. But we'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back with some more 2 Queers in a Track. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the 2 Queers in a Track on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. Happy pod. But anyway, this guy was like defending the whole turn over your income information so they know what to debit out of your bill.
That's crazy.
Not only do I not go to church, just for the record, big time atheist. don't believe any religions. I think they're all scams. They're all businesses. If it brings you some comfort and you mind your own business, not worry about what I do in the bedroom, more power to you. But as far as I'm concerned, when I look at these religions, and it doesn't matter which one, I pick on Christians more just because, Christianity is probably the dominant religion here in the United States. What a friggin' scam. What a mind job. These sky fairies are worried about, like Ted Cruz is worried about your dildo collection, or Marjorie Taylor Greene's worried about butt plugs. And I'm like, you talk about the same entity that created 100 million galaxies out there that we can't even see all of them. But yet the same person, the same Alpha and Omega, is worried about butt plugs and dildos.
Exactly.
Well, let me tell you, if God has that much time, he needs to get a side hustle. Because that's why I figured their sky god must be a man, because no self-respecting woman would ever worry about somebody's dildo collection. Maybe worried about if you're wearing clean underwear or not, but other than that, it's okay. Topic number 3, the MAGAs are busy. They are busy worrying about pronouns and
oh my gosh,
Fauci, and just like our friend Mr. Musk, his pronouns this week was, I think, prosecuting Fauci or something like that. But ironically, now that they've taken over the House, they still haven't come up with a public announcement for plans to lower inflation. The thing that they've talked about since Biden was sworn in, that there was crazy inflation, and it's destroying America. I haven't heard one word about inflation since the election. I haven't heard old McCarthy get up and roll out his plan for combating inflation. In fact, it's mysteriously and dubiously quiet. And we'll talk about MTG's comments from this last weekend. But amazingly, I haven't heard MTG actually write a dissertation on inflation. I'm not sure she can spell inflation. But if she could, I would love to see MTG's take on how to lower inflation.
So, Jen, did you see what happened on Sunday night? Did you see what happened with Elon Musk at the Dave Chappelle show? Your favorite comedian?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Chappelle.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which is just actually, that's going to be our last topic of the night.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
No, you're fine. But yeah,
okay.
It was really, really funny.
Exactly.
There's a shit ton of irony about who was the main event, and the fact that those incels watching Dave Chappelle and paying good money to go see this fool actually are booing Elon Musk. This is the times we live in.
Okay.
Speaking of goofball idiots, it's like, I mean, they literally were shitting their pants every week about inflation up until about a month ago. And now that they won the House, I haven't heard a fucking word from McCarthy, actually. Have you?
Yeah. I saw gas at $2.96 when I was coming back home from camping.
Actually, lower than when Trump left office, actually, too. A lot of people forgot about that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing. It's very bizarre how some problems just go away. Kind of like in 2018 and in 2020, I see my old stories post at how national world hair on fire tragedies end right after the election, after the Republicans get the results. And they go, oh, that's not important anymore. That was just important during the campaign season. And you notice that Biden's still talking about infrastructure and green technology and still saying we still need to do this, we still need to do that. He's still doing his actual job. And it's just funny how Republicans.
Oh, hey, remember just like 2 years ago, civilization was going to end as we know it if we had to wear masks. If kids didn't go to school, the world was going to blow up. It was just crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, all those people that were going to die from the vaccine that didn't, all the people that were going to cut off all the oxygen to the brain because they wore a mask. So, and I've noticed there isn't a mass rash of hypoxia and oxygen deprived brains. Like there's not a mass die off of brain damage due to wearing a mask. You know, like surgeons and doctors have been wearing and nurses have been wearing for 100 fucking years. But, you know, just because you have to go to the Chuck E. Cheese with a mask on and punch the big mouse with it in the nose and lose its ski ball, also you got inconvenience because you want to eat pizza, drink cold beer, and oogle the young girls that work there, and your kids want to go, you know, play some arcade games, and you got to be inconvenienced with a mask when you get up and walk around. You know, it's just very, very bizarre. And anyway, our favorite fascist, MTG, which was our next subject, said that she would have, if her and Steve Bannon had been in charge of January 6th, they'd have brought tons of guns and they would have won.
She's crazy.
So to rephrase that, if she had been in charge leading the mob instead of just being part of the mob in the organizing of it, which she was, she would have shot up the place, is what she's saying. They would have come in gun blazing, you know, Bobbert coming in with guns ablazing, Bobbert's husband showing his penis to everybody. And they would have been coming on some white horses because, God forbid, they would never be on no black horses. And they would have shot up the friggin' Capitol, is what they're saying. Probably shot Mike Pence, probably shot everybody in Congress. If they would have been leading the insurrection. So I got two takes from that. One, that literally is a confession. That A, January 6th happened, and B, that the Republicans were in charge of it. So we can end all the misinformation that Republicans were in charge. She just said the right MAGA Republicans weren't in charge, and literally confessed she would have shot up the place if she had a shot. This is a sitting congressperson that's saying she would have brought tons of guns and shot up the Capitol had she been allowed to do it. And then now spent the whole rest of the weekend and the rest of this week backpedaling, saying she was just
saying, she said, I was being sarcastic.
I'm like, she didn't know how to spell sarcastic. I mean, first of all, she meant it. She was speaking to a very conservative meeting. She was very serious about that. She was not backing off that. And she meant it. She's a wacko. You know, and I don't even know what it takes to censure somebody anymore. But I can't imagine how surreal this would be if you took somebody that's been dead 20 years and revive them and let them watch clips of her. Oh, by the way, this person's a Congress member. And this is what she said. I'd be like, send me back. like now, this seems like a crazy, like it's so unreal that January 6th happened. And now, almost 2 years later, the party of terrorism that did this, now I'm saying, well, we would have done it worse if I'd have been allowed to run that operation. I'm like, that doesn't even sound like remorse. That just sounds like, yeah, I'd be bringing the gasoline and the torches and the fucking use the gallows and just would shot up the place, you know. And I'm just
you know what that's like, Jenny. First of all, it's just stupid. You're exactly right. A sitting congressperson would say that, but it's equivalent to someone saying, you know, if I had gone to Columbine, none of those kids would have survived because I would have had a bazooka and a machete. I'm just joking.
Yeah. And what an insult to the Constitution. That
the police force, the police officers, law enforcement?
The law enforcement that lost their lives, the law enforcement officers that still struggle with medical and psychological effects, the members of Congress and their staffs that were actually terrified, Republicans and Democrats, that just, to me, to have somebody in my party, I know if I had a Democrat that said that, which we wouldn't, but in case we did, we ended up with an MTG in our party somehow, I would literally be screaming at the top of lungs, remove them. When Mario Cuomo was getting, in all his trouble and had to step down, I was like, good, he needs to be fired.
Exactly.
There should be zero.
Yeah, we said that.
When Christian Cano announced that she wasn't a Democrat anymore, I'm like, tell us something new. We already knew that. Like, you didn't have to officially become an independent. We already knew you were. You were actually Congress, a senator for sale anyway. Like, you were the highest grossing senator in PAC money. You've become a millionaire because of influential money buy-ins. We get it. You didn't have to publicly announce that. We already know that you're voting against the Democratic Party all the time. So, not a shocker. But it just blows me away that you don't hear anything from the Republican Party saying, oh, yeah, no, that's okay, this is where we draw the line. Not a word from the leadership. I ended up going, that hit every news agency in the country. And it just seems so bizarre that they wouldn't go, oh, maybe we shouldn't go, maybe we shouldn't go full on kooky right now. We just did pretty good. We took the House by a couple of seats. Maybe we should dial down the crazy talk. But that is, we're going to take our last break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And we are back. But yeah, I mean, nothing, not a censure, the new incoming Speaker of the House going, she didn't really talk for all of us. Like, we'll get her back on the meds or something. I mean, something like some kind of sense. But by the way, Mark Meadows' texts, all 2,316 of them from in or around January 6th got released.
Oh.
And it's actually out on the internet for people to view.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't paint a real pretty picture for what went on. People were talking about him and buzzing about him, and I'm sure Mark Meadows and probably explains why Trump is flopping around like a fish on a boat right now and not in the water, because it's not necessarily it's not very complimentary of the whole group, and so it's pretty brutal. And it's been a buzz Twitter, and I mean, I guess it is what it is. I guess they fucked around. The January 6th committee releasing that, everybody gets to find out, and it is what it is, like if you didn't do it, if you hadn't done January 6th, that'd be one less problem for a lot of y'all. But yeah, the people he texts to, and the things that he said, definitely are pretty damning. And I mean, that's amongst the millions.
I'm glad they're releasing all that. I know they're going to release a lot of it, by December 21st, they said.
Yeah.
Like the results, because they know that once these crazy guys take over the House, even though it's not about a wide majority, they're going to try to spin it in a way. So it's smart for them to release it and let us look at it so they can't spin it.
They should release everything on January 6th. Make
Exactly.
I mean, all the videos, just file it up, put it up online, archive it, and people can just download it and watch it. And let all Americans see it and access it. We should. I mean, we should do it for posterity's sake. It's absolutely brutal. It's absolutely damning. The investigation is still ongoing on the Justice Department side. They've still got hundreds of more arrests coming. There's still a whole lot going on. And the special prosecutor, Smith, has got 3 full cases. A lot of people think he was just handling 2 of the 3 major cases against Trump, but he's actually handling all 3. And so they say he's hot on the heels. He's amassing 3 massive sets of charges against Trump. And it's not good for Mr. Trump. I'm sure explains a lot of his crazier than usual, off kilter, 2 a.m. rants, and him texting people trying to figure out how to become president again so he didn't have to face charges. And it is a man that is facing a lot of jail time, and it's going to be interesting to see if he leaves the country before all this hits. But it's really, his 2 choices are probably exile and prison. And the prosecutor's not stopping for anything. And, he's got all the resources and all the tools and a very good win history. So, I think it's just interesting. But there was actually a really in-depth Twitter article explaining the exact cases the special prosecutor is pursuing. And he essentially is running the entire prosecution game against Trump and the Trump crime family. So I think it's great. I think the more this guy puts the pressure on, the more the MAGAs are just crying and screaming. And I guess that's probably explains why MTG, besides her being an idiot, gets up on stages and says, "I'm coming there with all guns blazing." And I'm like, well, first of all, she's all talk. She's just,
yeah, of course she is.
She's a washed out old alcoholic.
Yeah.
Then why didn't you do it on the last time? Like, you knew about it. We all now know, which we already knew. She was in on it. So why didn't you do it then? You had guns back then. Why didn't you and Bobbert and Mr. Bravery himself, the Missouri senator that was running out of the building like his ass was on fire, and everybody else, why didn't all you Republicans suit up like Rambo and lead the charge up the hill? You guys were all hiding too. Or running, just depending on who you were. But literally, if you really were that brave, then where was Bannon? These guys are all taught, just like in Texas, they're all hat, no cattle, and just, super, we're Mr. and Mrs. Patriot. We got all these guns, and that's what makes us patriotic. But I don't remember any of them running up that hill. They let their followers, their sheep will actually do that. So, you had your shot back then 2 years ago. Anyway, space carrying Elon Musk got booed over the weekend at a Dave Chappelle. And I find space carrying is actually deleting accounts for people that replay the clip of him getting booed. Mm-hmm. And because he's a thin-skinned little fascist himself. And he just can't stand the fact that, he even tried to tweet today, it was like 90% applause and 10% booze. I've watched the clip.
Exactly.
My fucking hearing's pretty good. In fact, I've been known to be able to hear a mouse fart from 1,000 feet. I can promise I didn't hear
And if it was,
song.
and if it was 90% or even 50% claps, Dave Chappelle would have told people to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
So
would
why would he tell people why would he tell people who are clapping to shut up?
Yeah, and why is Space Karen deleting accounts?
Exactly.
Mr. Free Speech Absolutist himself is now deleting accounts. Literally going against his own stated policy, literally not deleting the post, deleting people's accounts that are reposting it. And so they're being smart. Instead of reposting it, they're screenshotting it and then posting it so he can't see it. And but yeah, Space Karen's his titties are all twisted about the him getting booed. Look, what do you expect? You're a fucking asshole. Like, maybe instead of getting all mad and lying about it and getting all twisted and crying about why his wife left him, maybe you just shouldn't be an asshole. Maybe you shouldn't have been an asshole to your trans kid. Maybe you shouldn't be an asshole about anything. Maybe you shouldn't lie about COVID medicines that didn't work. Maybe you shouldn't lie about your cars melting on the fucking freeway. Maybe you shouldn't lie about your stupid rockets. You know, there's definitely some compensation there. I mean, Space Karen's probably got two belly buttons. One is an innie, one's an outie. You can guess which one is which. But the truth is, you know, Space Karen is just he's just a friggin' South African fascist that's just a trust fund baby and a friggin' idiot. And of course, the irony is he goes on the stage with a very problematic, idiotic comedian that likes to punch down on dead trans women. So we're not talking about two of the bravest guys ever. Like are people talking about?
So, you know, he posted this morning after it's been all over everywhere that he's been booed. The branch Covidians are upset, LOL. He's like it's like embarrassing. It's just
fucking idiot.
Just crazy. He is. He's just
he lives in such a twisted, maniacal, narcissistic world where any sense of humanity that he had is long gone. Then he believes his own bullshit to the point where he'll double and triple down on that shit. And I'm like, well, dude, we can watch the video. It's on every social media platform. So even though you control Twitter, I first saw it on Instagram, which is my preferred deal. I was scrolling through, and of course, every commentator that I follow was laughing their ass off about Space Karen and literally just skewering him. But I mean, he's like that kid in that school that fucking just picks on everybody and then wonders why most of the class will just finally have enough of him and confront him on the schoolyard and just do a blanket party. That's where you throw a blanket over somebody and you just kick the shit out of them. He's wondering why his blanket party happened this weekend. I'm like, you're the fucking class bully. You're this weird ass.
But see, I don't see him as a bully, Jenny. I see him as a clown that no one pays it. Just stick up.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. You know, so for me, he's beyond offensive. He's just a nuisance now.
Yeah.
Which makes no logical sense because he doesn't. There's something mentally not right there.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're a classic narcissist like he is,
yeah,
and he is a prototypic narcissistic idiot, it feeds narcissism. Narcissism loves conflict. They love stirring the pot, but they can't take it themselves. He can dish it out, but this guy cannot take it. And so when he gets just a scrap of pushback, he acts like the spoiled child that he is, fires people, throws tantrums, deletes accounts, does all the things that he criticizes, because a narcissist is always going to be very hypocritical. And this guy he is mentally ill. It's really sad that he controls and owns the biggest news platform on social media, which is Twitter. But the reality is, just like when I found out about this story, I found out on another platform that I prefer using.
Exactly.
Anyway.
I think we'll see by this summer. We'll see Twitter.
Well, there's so many competitors. There's Mastodon.
Exactly.
There's 3 or 4 True Social. There's so many new competitors, and there's so many that are still viable. So, the funniest stories and the best visual stories I watch Instagram for anyway. I'd much rather watch the visual side of it, especially when there's video, and especially when you see, Space Karen getting up on the stage and people are immediately booing. Fuck you.
But you know what? But you know what was even more classic, Jenny? What was even more classic is it was a double kind of karma thing. Dave Chappelle came off as an idiot for bringing him on.
Yeah.
And then tried to make light of it, told the audience to shut up. They wouldn't. Every time he talked, Elon Musk, they booed. Even to the point where Elon Musk basically said, "What do you want me to say?" And then Dave Chappelle tried to change it to he was on the side of the audience, like, "Well, this is what comedy would be like on Mars. And these must be all the people that used to work for you." And then Dave Chappelle tried to insult his own audience by saying, "Well, they're only booing in the cheap seats, like the, high or whatever." But they were booing everywhere.
Sure.
And so you could tell that Dave Chappelle even got surprised on how many people actually, and they kept it up. And so that's what was so, it was like karma. It was just like, we couldn't have asked. It's like, it was wonderful.
You got 2 narcissistic bullies.
Yeah.
They constantly punch down. That's Dave Chappelle's career has been nothing but punching down, because he's a coward. He's just a little man. And little Space Karen is the same way. Little trust fund weenie, fucking spoiled brat, racist parents, just a horrible human being, transphobic dad, just a shitbag, just a coward that hides behind his money. And ultimately, he'll never get the last say. He'll get judged by history, just like the rest of the shitheads that act like that. And the thing is, he's killing his own product. Who cares? If he wants to flame up Twitter, let it go. I hardly use Twitter. I don't really care. Everybody I follow on other platforms anyway. If Twitter disappears tomorrow, just like if Tesla disappears tomorrow, and their crappy little electric cars that melt people's faces off disappears, he's only destroying his own products. At the end of the day, he's the one that's going to have to answer for all that shit. His companies are about as well run as Trump steaks. But anyway, that's we ran a little bit over, which I was trying not to, because we ran over previous filming. I don't want to keep us up. For full disclosure, this is the first episode you've ever watched of Two Queers and a Truck. We record on Monday nights. We drop the show on Wednesdays. We do a show that we originally started on. This is a spinoff from our coffee show, A Coffee and Pendulce. It's on the same platforms as this, where we have a bigger, more of a talk, expansive community show. This one's we just let our hair down and say whatever the fuck we want to say. And so if you like what you see, we're on every Wednesday with new episodes every week. But on that note, this is the end of our time, and I promise that we try to stay on schedule, unlike the coffee show. And appreciate y'all listening or watching, depending on which platform you are. And we'll have a good week. Bye, Boo.
Bye-bye.